Modeling, Topic 17, Delta Hedging, Section 7. Delta Hedging long and short, puts and calls. So in the last sections, we've been exclusively talking about taking a long position in a call and delta hedging. Now we're going to talk about the other four positions. So what if that last trade, instead of buying this call, I decided that that implied vol was too high. Therefore, I'd like to short the call because I think the option's overvalued. So what I can do is I could write or sell or shorten the call, all those meaning the same thing. I'd write that call, and to delta hedge a written call, I would buy delta shares. So I would buy 50 shares, write this call. So let's see how I had to change my spreadsheet to handle a written call if I start it from a short call. From a long call. The first thing I notice is this turns to be a negative number because I wrote the call, meaning I'm going to generate $1,000 from the sale of the call, but then I had to buy 50 shares at 6.14. So that's why this is such a big negative, is I gained $1,000, but then I lost, or I had to spend 50 times 6.14. So I'm down $29,000, and now I'm paying interest on that $29,000. Next thing I have to do is, in this spreadsheet, I am long the stock. So my other spreadsheet had minus the change in stock price times my delta shares. In this case, I am long the stock price is down on 50 shares, I lose that amount of money. Lastly, my option profit. I've written this call and I'm simulating that the call price in this first case goes from 10.05 to 9.61. I am short this call, so I'll take minus the change in price times 100 shares. So I'm going to gain money being short a call and the price dropping. I then summed all that up, my P&Ls. I ran 10,000 iterations based on 23% vol, and what I found is the mean of that distribution is losing $241, which is exactly what I thought it would be. Let's talk about that. If I were to price this option, not using 18.67 implied vol, but my Garch estimate of 23, I would have thought this option is worth $12.46. If I were to short at this option at $10, and I think it's really worth $12.46, I would expect it to lose a couple dollars times 100, right? The difference between $12.46 and $10.05 times 100 shares. So I was expecting to lose $241, and my simulation confirmed that. Now, if I were to delta hedge a put, now here I have a put option, and that implied vol of that put on a put price of 11.05 is 19.21. My put delta is 0.5017. So using this strategy here, if you want to delta hedge a long or purchased or bought put, I'd buy the put and buy the shares. That's going to cost me a lot of cash because I buy the put for $1,100 on 100 shares. I also buy 50 shares at 6.14. The sum of those is I'm spending $31,000. That's going to cost me interest every day. I notice I also I've changed this formula to BS put delta and not BS call delta. I have that times 100. I then calculate BS put, the value of the put using Black-Scholes. And that goes here also. I then calculate my stock profit. Since I own the stock, I'll take just simply the stock price change times those 50 shares. Since I own the put, I'll take the change in the put price times 100 shares. And there's my P&L. If I take the mean after running 10,000 iterations based on 23%, I would expect it to make $200. Now, why does that make sense? Because if I would have bought the option at 11.05 with a 19.21 vol, if I revalue using BS put at 23%, I would have thought it was worth $13.16. That's a couple dollars more, so I thought it was a couple dollars undervalued. So I was expecting to make about $2, the difference between these two numbers, times 100 shares. And when I run the simulation, I can confirm those results. Now, the one position I'm not going to show you, I'm going to give you a homework assignment to complete this one, is what if I take this spreadsheet and I make it a written put? In other words, what if I believe vol is going to be lower than 1921? So I'm going to ask you to develop a strategy to write the put in delta hedge. Well, if you do that, you're going to write the put and you're going to short 50 shares. So one of your assignments you're going to be given is you're going to change this spreadsheet. And the key things you got to think about is if you're selling the put, you're going to generate that $1,100 in cash. If you short the shares, you're going to generate cash on the short sale because you're borrowing those shares and selling them right away. So you're going to wind up with some positive interest. Now your stock profit, since you are short the shares, you're going to do minus the change in the stock price times your 50 shares. And since you are short the option, you're going to take minus the change in the price of the option times those 100 shares. You're going to run that simulation and you're going to figure out your profit from writing the call and delta hedging. So in this section, we talked about how to delta hedge the other positions, and that is short a call, long a put, and short a put, and how to develop those P&Ls for those strategies.